Hi, it's Trent Clark, CEO of Leadershipity, serial entrepreneur organization member, international speaker, and longtime coach in professional baseball coaching in 3 World Series. And today on the Winners Find a Way show, I've got my special guest, Cathy McKinnon. Hi, Cathy.
Hi, Trent. How are you?
I am awesome. It's July 4th weekend, and I love this weekend as a Midwestern kid. And I don't know if you grew up here. I know you live here now, but as a kid growing up here, the July 4th is summer. I mean, it is the weekend, right? Like this is the time that is so much fun.
Absolutely. The July 4th in the Midwest, like there's nothing better than this weekend.
Right? I tell people all the time, and I'm sure like, that's a little different. Like holidays are different. I remember when I was coaching with the Tigers, we were talking about Christmas, and I was
Mhm.
speaking with Alan Trammell, longtime player for the Tigers, and Alan grew up in San Diego, and I was like, man, that's so weird. Like we had snow, it was always Christmas, and I'm like, I can't imagine like going out to the beach in shorts and a t-shirt on Christmas because that would be so different for me. And he's like, yeah, it was very different, and he talked about liking the Midwest now that he was a Detroit Tiger. But he was like, but when I was 10, like I went out and rode my bike that afternoon and I was like, oh, that is cool.
There's
Like
something to
that,
that. Yeah.
yeah, there's some cool stuff. So, but July 4th is a big one for us Midwesterners, and obviously support our country, celebrate that 245 years this year. So coming up on a big one. So today, as we welcome you to the Winners Find a Way show, here is what our show entails. Our show is all about coming back from tough things. Winners find a way. Have you ever faced stiff adversity, felt like the losses are mounting and you need to find a better way? Well, I think you came to the right place. We talked to a lot of one percenters who have gone down this path. And what's amazing about successful people, Cathy, is very few people know that they've gone through a lot of trials to get to that top.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you are no different, Cathy. So I'm interested to hear some of the tales. But if you're already an entrepreneur, an athlete, business leader, or looking to start your journey today to being elite, I think you could be in no better place. Cathy, tell them a little bit about where they can find you first. Where can they find you online? Where can they find you?
Absolutely. So I have my website, which is wellnesswarriorcoaching.com, or I'm on Facebook and Instagram under Wellness Warrior Coaching.
I love that wellness warrior. I love it. I'm a former strength coach, right? So, I mean, when you talk wellness warrior, like that is awesome. I love that site name just in general. I'll be on there just to check the site every once in a while because I want to feel like a wellness warrior, right? Let me introduce Cathy a little bit and a couple things I wrote down about you. 3-time international best-selling author, contributing to 3 separate great books on really transformation, right? Silent Grief, Healing and Hope, Joy, Recipes for Abundance, and Oh My Health, There Is Hope,
Mhm.
which I love that. And you bravely share your journey a little bit with what you call the trifecta, which we're going to get into a little bit. And then, your own transformation battle, of course. In April 21, you were named, this is recent, this is last quarter, this is awesome.
Yes.
Chicago Entrepreneurs Magazine named Cathy Chicago's top coach. That's pretty awesome.
That was awesome and wild and all the crazy things all in one because there's so many incredible coaches, especially in the Chicagoland area.
Yes.
That was quite an honor.
Yeah, that is a great honor. And as a coach myself, obviously, I love when people get honored for that craft of what they're doing, for helping, guiding, teaching, taking people through. And as a transformation coach, that is tough work.
It
Talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about the transformation. When you say transformation,
mm.
a lot of people ask me that. What does it mean to transform? So, Cathy, tell us a little bit about a transformation coach.
Yeah. So a lot of my work, it's a combination of both health coaching, mindset coaching, life coaching. So I look at all areas of life. I call them the 5 facets of life that I go through in the coaching program. I don't believe you can just look at one thing in a tunnel and think that that is just going to overhaul your life, right? So much of what we do and where we go depends on our mindset, right?
Mm.
And our life outlook and our relationships and our connection to something greater, whether that's religious or not. But we cannot just say, I'm just going to focus on my physical health. Yes,
Mm.
mental health is absolutely important to being able to continue to show up. But if that is all you're focusing on, you are not going to collapse time and get to that vision for your life as fast as you could.
Mm. That's so true. I love that. So list the 5 facets for everyone. What is the 5 facets in the quick and dirty?
Yeah. So health, obviously, right? We
Yep.
need to be able to physically show up.
Yep.
Career, right? Are we putting all of our energy and time into something that really lights us up, or are we just, punching time and the days going by?
Mm.
Relationships. Are we surrounding ourselves with the right people who are uplifting us, who are putting ourselves in the right places to make connections, to network, to grow? Money. If we don't have a good relationship with money and what that means for our vision, we're holding ourselves back.
Mm.
We are putting roadblocks in our way. And then connection to something greater. For many that's religious, for many that's not religious, but we need to have that overall bigger calling that there is something greater that we are serving here.
Mm. Yes. Wow. I mean, listen, a recipe for balance right there, right? Like, and I think like if someone had to go down, I'm gonna do this right now. Let's do this together. I'm gonna do my 1 through 5 grade myself, right?
All right.
Health, I'm a B. Career, I'm an A. I love what I do. 3, relationships, I'm an A. I'm pretty good at that, right? 4, I think I'm a C. Like I don't have a great relationship with money right now, the way I'd like to. 5, connection to a greater power. I'm a B plus. I can always be better, right? But I'm a
Sure.
pretty spiritual person, and I have to spend time. But I think in all 5 of those things, very intentional. Like you can't just be like, oh, hey, like, listen, I've got a good place I work, and
Mm.
I got a nice gym, so the relationships are just coming. Really? No, no. Oh, that's so good. So let's talk a little bit about your transformation coach. Cathy helps serve women who know deep down they are meant for more and they are ready to take the steps and start embodying that version of themselves. Wow. Like I coach tons of CEO leaders, women founders. So I'm all about that entrepreneur world, right? And I was not the coach of the year, just to clear. Cathy was, I was not. And I just love that it is a challenge, but I see a lot of women are outpacing, and the statistics are showing this, that the women are outpacing in a lot of key metrics of responsibility as leaders
Mm.
because of some key intangibles in my thought, right? Which is
Mhm.
I find women to be one of my big keys, right? Coachability.
Mm.
That's huge for me. And so that's a huge one for me, as well as those skills that we really need in relating today: better listening, more communication, more alignment, more humility out of our leaders. And those are some big iddies I just announced here. But
Yeah.
I see a lot of women who can really maintain that really well and maintain that strength. And a lot of it is from their experiences of from school to athletes to growth to children to career to education, and all these things that have mixed in, and all not easy, right? Like, I mean, all of them are challenging, and they're like going, hey, I don't know if you know or not, but I've overcome some stuff and I am not afraid.
And that's the thing, is when you get people who have overcome stuff, their level and being able to walk with fear is completely different.
Right.
Completely different, because you're like, I've done the big and scary. For many of us, we've done big and scary several times.
Yeah.
You're like, things don't phase us as much maybe as they do other people. Or we're like,
Right.
that is unknown and I'm not sure how it's going to end up, but you know what? I'm willing to walk through that fire.
Yeah, I love that. When I think of like big and scary, and everyone has relatives of big and scary, right? But like
Absolutely.
I can remember my parents going, big and scary, get on a plane to Italy. And I'm like, really? Like, I'm like, hey, when you show up at Chicago O'Hare, there's gonna be like 400 people going with you and another one in 3 hours. Like, a lot of people are facing
Nothing.
big and scary and they're not scared at all, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's really relative to how we view, and our experiences have shared that. But let's bounce into you a little bit. Um, first of Cathy, I asked you to come on my show. You don't know me that well, right? But
No.
yeah, right. You're like, hey, come on. So we know some common people together. So and I think hopefully they speak well of me. I know the people that I know spoke well of you. And I asked you to come on the show. Why do you come on and do a show where we talk about some vulnerable things? Talk a little bit about why you come on and do this.
I come on and do this honestly. Just the name of your show alone resonated with me and the message that I share with my clients. Right? We find a way. We don't necessarily copy someone else's journey. We don't do maybe the textbook outline of how life is supposed to go. We find a way. Everybody's journey is imperfect, but you know what? If you really are dedicated to that mission, whatever your mission is, you're gonna find a way. And that's the difference, right? Because you're not always going to be motivated. We all have days where we wake up and we're like, yeah, not feeling it today.
Yes.
But if you're dedicated and determined, you're gonna find a way to get it done.
Well, I thank you, Cathy, for coming on the show, because that really resonates with me, especially as a former coach in professional baseball, right? When people reach the major leagues, you find out that people got here all sorts of different directions, right? You know, over the mountain, through the mountain, under the mountain. We had to dig the tunnel and go. I mean, like, it is crazy. And different cultures have different hurdles in front of you, right? Like, it's like, oh man, this was going to be tough. Could I ever leave the island to go get a chance to play somewhere? And it was like, whoa, I can't even imagine that thinking, right? Like, all these kids want a chance, and why me? But that's I love that. And there is really, I love that there are textbook ways. There are ways to go about it, but maybe no path is the same, right?
Yeah, it's about finding a way, not the
way. That's right. I love that. A way, not the way. That's why it's not called Winners Find the Way. It's called Winners Find a Way. I love that. That's awesome.
There is no prescription to life, right? And we all have different paths, but we can all be successful in our own rights. It's finding what works for us to get where we want to go.
That's good. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges you have. What most people don't know about you. I'm going to do two things today. What most people don't know about Cathy McKinnon is, one, she's a Spartan race badass. Pardon my French, but like, she's not afraid to get at hard things. I mean, like, most people get in a Spartan race, and when they're, climbing under, if people don't know this, when you're climbing under the barbed wire, right? Like this is not something exactly, and you're in mud, like 6 inches thick, and you're thinking, what was I thinking again when I thought this was a good idea, right? I don't remember this on the manual, right? And the other one that people don't know about Cathy, and it's really not about Cathy, it's actually about her son, who's a 10-year-old published author with a fabulous book called Kindness, Pass It On. And I love that. That's awesome.
That was all his doing. He came to me he knows I am an author, and he's actually been at a book signing with me. So he's seen it. He's excited. He came to me during COVID, and he said he wanted to write a book. Who am I to say no to that?
Right. Have at it.
Yeah. I asked him, okay, what are we going to write about? And we obviously had extra time since we were under COVID lockdown. So, hey, let's sit down and write a story. And I thought, he's a 10-year-old boy, 9-year-olds at the time. And I thought, this is going to be about sports or Nerf or games or, 9-year-old boy stuff.
Right.
And, no, Mom, I want to write about kindness. And I was like, well, my work here is done.
Yeah. Wherever it goes from here, I feel good about it right now.
We're good.
That's good. So my youngest is 5 is just about the same age as your son. And I love it that he's the epitome of joy, and he is the creative kid. He's out running around, but it is about sports. I mean, it is about the NHL Stanley Cup. It's about travel baseball. It's about anything I can go out and do, and let's watch Tatis highlights. So I love, though, that friendships and relationships are already creeping into these kids' age, at that age. I just think it's awesome. So let's come back to you, Cathy. Tell us about Maybe an impactful pivot point. Now, this is coming back to your childhood as a kid, when you knew, hey, I am destined, or at least wanted, for leading people, driving, helping others, going into that position of influence that you have today.
Yeah. I mean, did I ever say as a child, I'm going to grow up and be a transformation coach? Yeah, that never crossed my mind.
Okay. Yeah.
As a child, I wanted to be a teacher and an author. Now, I took a major detour and went into the business world, right? My degrees are in business. I went into the finance world. I worked at a CPA firm, went straight down the tunnel of finance, went to working on strategic global programs, all about transforming organizations from the financial standpoint. But never did I think I would come back to teaching. And now I'm teaching in an unconventional way, right? I'm not in a classroom teaching like academically, but I am teaching and leading. So looking back now, I did achieve the two things I said as a child, right? I'm an author and I am teaching. I took this wild detour down the business realm, which was an amazing learning opportunity, traveling, working with international business, and building efficiencies and relationships around the globe. But I don't think I would be in this spot today if I hadn't taken that detour. And so it was an incredible lesson learned. But ironically, sitting back now, I'm right where I called out I would be as a child.
It's funny how calling it out as a child kind of can fulfill a destiny. It did for me, I'll tell you that, like deeply. And I love that. For me, coaching is teaching. I have a teaching certificate, and people go, oh, well, you've never really taught in the schools. And I did that very little. And I was like, this is so not for me. Right. And but I've coached just forever. And I mean, for me, it's using all those teaching skills that I learned. And I don't think I would be half the coach if I didn't have that experience going through education and diving in some challenging things in that. So I think that was really important. So I love the quote from Chris McChesney, Sean McCovey in their book, The Four Disciplines of Execution, which is winners, when shown data that they are losing, find a way to win. So let's talk a little bit about in your background, a time that, now you're an adult and you have the trifecta, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. If you'd like to talk about another area for this part, go ahead. But if you want to dive into the trifecta, that's good too. You tell me which way you want to go, but allow you to overcome and how you went through it. Talk us about through the journey about what set you back, where your mindset at was, and through your 5, where were you at on your health, career, let's talk through that a little bit. And then what kind of brought you back? What got you on the right direction?
Yeah. So there was this moment when I was in the midst of my infertility journey, that I was about 2.5 years into my infertility journey when the doctors informed me that I had cancer. So that you talk about, blows to the gut. Not only did I have this baby that I was on a mission to have, now you're telling me I have cancer. And it was just like a complete kick to the gut. And it took me about 72 hours to like wrap my head around, what did they just say? They did not just say that, right? Like I was this denial of like what? And at that moment, when I went back to the doctor's office to talk about a treatment plan, I literally just said to him, I'm not done. I had no idea the treatment plan. I had no idea what it meant, especially for long-term health. But I'm not done. I'm not done living. I'm not done exploring. And I'm not done fighting for my mission to have my baby and be a mother. And so I told him, I was like, you need to do whatever you need to do, because I'm not done.
So when this is told now, I want to, shore this up here. When you're told you're on a mission for 2.5 years on one thing, the entire focus pivots to preserve, right? Preserve life first, because obviously we're now calculating, hey, if I'm not alive, no baby, right? Like, so
it's a
pretty much prioritization becomes a pretty quick order, right? But does that mean, are they telling you like, hey, all fertilization treatments, everything are on a back burner now, or what does that mean?
Yeah, complete halt.
Stop.
Complete halt.
Okay.
And they said, we have to completely come to a stop until you get through your cancer treatments. Okay. All right. We'll do what we need to do, right? And then I went to my doctor that was treating my cancer, and he said, well, okay, we're going to do surgery. Okay, great. All right. And then we're done, right? There. No, we need to have radiation. Okay. What does that mean? Oh, that means the fertility treatments, you have to wait for a year, 12 months for all the radiation to clear your body before you go back and resume that.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. No.
Yeah. Every reproductive cell will be killed in your body for this 12 months.
Yes. And you need to wait 12 months for your body to clear all that out before you consider starting that again for your health and the health of the baby. Like, you want me to just put that on the back burner for a year? Whoa. Like, how do we process that? Right.
Yeah.
And then I got my cancer diagnosis. Literally the 3 weeks between my cancer diagnosis and my surgery, while I'm dealing with these two blows of, oh, by the way, put the baby mission on the back burner, and oh, you have cancer, Gary C word. 3 weeks between cancer diagnosis and surgery, I was told my position at my job was being eliminated.
Man, so I see you, like, so I picture you, right? I just picture you down, and you don't know whether to hold your gut or grab your head, right? Because you're injured in both places, right? And then,
Absolutely.
and then someone comes up and kicks you in the spine, and you're like, oh my goodness. Like, wait a minute. I know I don't have three hands to grab something here. So you are just down.
Down.
Oof.
Down.
So what's next? What happens next in this moment?
This was really testing of my mindset, right? At the time, we're young and we can weather anything, and we're superhuman and all that good stuff. But how do we weather this? Because this is the unknown. This is bigger than I need to go to the gym and run some more miles to train.
Right.
How do we go through this? And it was, honestly, at that point, I could only take it day by day.
Yes.
And I had to give myself grace to say, we are not looking past the next 24 hours. We are going to keep our head above water for 24 hours and go to the next 24 hours and get past that. And really it was about, where do we give strength and where do we give grace? Because obviously I needed to give my body rest to recover and recoup, but I also needed strength to keep pushing on and figure out, okay, I need to provide. I have a mortgage payment to pay. How are we going to do that now without a job? And so finding this balance of strength and grace, and doing the things I could do with the strength that I had, and then allowing myself grace to say, I need to rest now to recover my body. And the magic in that mix, while absolutely imperfect, I'm by no means perfect, but the magic in that mix was, I took the time to do the job hunting, the applications when I had the strength. And what happened was, literally a week after my surgery, I received a call from a very reputable corporation for an interview. A company that at the time you couldn't get in the door because there were so many people clamoring.
Yeah.
And so how do I say no to that interview? Because I'm not supposed to be driving yet. I'm supposed to be in bed recovering. But you can't say no to that opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to pull it together. And it was literally me pulling it together, because at the time I couldn't turn my neck, right? Because I had surgery straight across my neck and I had big incision still. And I'm like, well, I can't go to the interview, like, looking like I just had my throat slit. And so it was, I put on a scarf that looked like a fashion statement.
Turtleneck in July.
Yeah, exactly. Turtleneck in July. Well, hey, we're went to the interview.
It's sleeveless. It's fine.
Okay, we're gonna be in a sauna for an hour while we're interviewing, and then it's fine.
Yeah, right.
And that's exactly what it was. I went through the interview. I have no idea how I made it through, and basically got back in my car and was like collapsed. Like, oh, now I need to go home and sleep because I can barely move. Right.
Yeah.
but it's finding the strength in the moment, but then also allowing yourself, because we are human, to rest when you need to rest. But it was that interview that ended up giving me into this corporation where I had the most amazing experiences and growth and opportunities that I never would have fathomed, in small suburban Chicago. Seeing the world, traveling the world, having these opportunities. And so allowing yourself to pull from that inner strength, or as I call it, the inner warrior, right? In those moments, you have to do it, and it will open doors and opportunities that you never could have fathomed.
That is unbelievable, right? Like, this is all going on. And I think there's so much power in when we talk about how do you come back? How do winners find a way? And, we joke, but everyone goes, hey, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? Like, well, how do you come back? I love this. One day at a time. That's how you come back, right?
Absolutely.
And we talk about this all the time when, you're looking at, some game and you're down 9 runs, or you're looking at the numbers are you are losing, right? Like, hey, listen, you can't hit a 9-run home run. You got to do it one at a time. Let's just get somebody on base. Let's just do the one thing that we can do right now in the moment. How has this affected your ability to coach someone to be present, to be in the moment? Because someone who says, I will never look past the next 24 hours, to me, you've been given a gift that so many people don't have.
Absolutely, because so many get overwhelmed by the picture. Like, I have no idea how I'm going to get to the top of that mountain.
Yeah.
And that can get overwhelming, and then they just shut down.
Yep.
Right? Because they're like, that seems impossible, and I have no idea how I'm going to do it. But if you take it one step at a time, or like you say, one play at a time, it becomes much more manageable.
Yes.
Small bites. We are not meant to flip a switch and magically climb a mountain.
Right.
We are humans. And so if we take it in small bites, small goals, small steps, one step at a time, one small victory at a time, it's amazing what you can accomplish. And so many people get caught up in, I'm only going to celebrate when I get to the top of the mountain. No, you celebrate every small milestone and victory along the way, because that's going to make that top of the mountain so much more victorious. And people get caught up in that, like, well, I still haven't hit the big goal. And you know what? You're not there, but you're 50% there.
Yeah.
Huge, because most people don't even get 50% there.
Yeah. It's so good. I was with two of my youngest kids, my 9, and he's almost 10, and then my 14-year-old, and we climbed Camelback Mountain a couple of months ago. And there's a couple of cool posts up me on the top of the mountain. So, but I made them stop about every quarter and say, take a look. Like, you remember when we were down in that parking lot that you can barely see? You're only halfway up the mountain, but you're thinking like, whoa, we have gone a long way. That's right. We've accomplished some things, not without sweat and not without water, but like you've done something already. Like, if you make it, you make it, but just, hey, we go about our business, we go do our thing, and good things are happening. Look at progress. Stop and review your progress. Like, celebrate those little victories. So important.
It is so important. And that's why I tell my clients, whether it's a written journal, whether it's photographs, however you remember it, but you have to take pictures or document the journey, because there will be days where you're discouraged and you're like, I'm not making progress. I'm not there yet. Right. But if you look back and go, but look at how far I've come.
Yeah. I think that I have always been this carrot person, right? Like, I need that carrot. Right. And I can do it in like one day. But when I, as a Spartan racer, you'll appreciate, when I was doing triathlons, the training was tough, and I'd lay out my like kind of 28-day plan, and I'm eating all the right things because you need the energy, and then I always had a day off where I kind of timed this out, and my day before the day off was like, I've now completed my 28 days of training. and we're going to like this great rib house for like the worst
Mm.
food, right? It's like 90% fat, right? Like ribs are not great for
It's
you.
so good.
Yeah, it's so good though, right? It's like, so I was like, oh man, I am so doing this, right? And so at that point, I was like, I could think nothing of, but my daily focus was in that day, just looking forward to something like that. But I could keep my 24-hour focus knowing like I get a reward and that works for me. That always worked.
Yeah. And absolutely, you have to. I mean, if your only focus was finishing the race, it would be a struggle to get through every day of training.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You'd be dragging yourself through every day of training. It wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be enjoyable because it's not the race, right?
Let's talk about 2 more knockdowns.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, while I got you here, let's talk about 2 more.
I call it the tuck and roll, right? We just keep going.
Well, first of all, let's talk about, there's one more knockdown with a divorce, but there's also joy. You do complete your mission, right? You do have a son that we've talked about. You did reach your goal, and you persevered through cancer, through a job loss, and you did have this child. Talk to us about both those things.
Yeah. So, it took me 5 years of crazy infertility treatments, doctor's appointments, more than I can count, all of the craziness that women go through on their infertility journeys. But I was blessed with my son. I call him my miracle baby. So I've got my one, my only, and he's just brought me so much pride and joy. Honestly, he's taught me more about myself than I learned in all the years before him.
There is a big perspective change when you have children, right?
There is a big perspective, and we can learn so much from them. Like, again, if we're just present with them and we listen to them and we see their view or perspective on things, they see things that we would never pick up on as adults.
Yeah.
And there's so much to learn and so much value in that. But again, you have to take the time to be present. And when you are, the world from their eyes is such a different world.
Can you still do that today? I mean, can you still like hardline a 24-hour line and say, guess what? I don't care about Sunday because today's Friday and I've got the next 24 hours to live my best life. Can you do that today?
I do.
You do? I love it. I love it.
And I especially do it with time with my son. When it is like vacation time or time with my son, like, that's it. We're not seeing past this time together. We're going to go have fun, whatever adventure we're on. That's it. I don't care what's on the calendar for tomorrow, or if there's, a day full of Zoom meetings tomorrow. No. Yeah. We're here, we're doing this, and we're having fun.
Yeah. That's a big challenge. It's a challenge for me. That's a challenge for me. And I know many people who face tons of anxiety, right? Anxiety, and it's all, and anxiety is all future driven, right? Like it's all what might happen. And,
could happen,
I'm always, and I'm trying to think of the author that wrote it, but I think it was maybe Twain. He said that, I spent a whole life worrying about 90% of things that never happen.
Yeah. Instead of just living life and enjoying.
That's so true.
Being present. Right. So we have that choice, right? We can get caught up on what if the ceiling falls in tomorrow. Or I can go out and say, I'm going to go all out and live the best life that I can today because I don't know what tomorrow will bring. Very different mindsets.
Let's pivot to one thing that I want you to tell me a little bit for a minute is what is your superpower? What is the thing that after you've come through this, what do you think separates you and catapults you?
I bounce between two, right? But I think number one is grit. Grit, because when you have a larger than life vision, you have to understand that life will happen and you're going to get tested on how badly you want that vision. And, you have to be rock solid in your confidence to execute on that mission, regardless of how much time it's going to take to get there. But if you don't have the grit to persevere through those hard times, because they'll happen, there will be tests, you are not going to get to the other side. Whether in sports, I mean, Spartan racing is something that I only took up in 2015. So it's a relatively new thing for me. But I tell you what, in those races, your grit will be tested. You will be tested.
Oh yeah. Have you read the book You Can't Hurt Me?
No, I haven't.
Oh my goodness. Like
I need
you
to.
gotta read that.
Down.
Like, first of all, I'm gonna preface this for this audience. It's written by a Navy SEAL. It's a very interesting read. And actually the audio's fascinating because it's unlike most audiobooks, because what they did is the author who wrote the book for the SEAL does an interview process, which is very cool. And then while he reads it, then all of a sudden they kind of interject stories of the feedback on how they got to the story, right? And so the man himself actually tells the stories in first voice, right? And so it's pretty cool. I will preface this with, there is a language in this book that is not for the faint at heart, but it is a fabulous, interesting read in the human mindset, because he kind of really points out that fact that the human body has tons of capacity. The human mind is the massive limitation, right? We're limiting ourselves like crazy. And so, he talks about these ultra endurance races, which you'll appreciate, I think, from your Spartan, as he tests his mindset in all these things.
And that's the thing, right? Your body will give up on you long before your mind does, or vice versa. If your mind quits, your body's done. But if
your mind can keep your body going.
Oh, absolutely. If your mind's in the right place, your body can do all sorts of challenging things, a whole lot more than we give ourselves credit for.
Yes.
Did I ever think I could run a Spartan race? No.
Yeah, right. That first time you did it, you line up at the start. I mean, butterflies, like maybe you want to puke, right? Like you're thinking,
oh yeah,
I'm really going to do this right now. Like that gun is going to go off, right?
And there's no going back.
I'm supposed to move, and I don't know if I want to. I'm thinking, hey, could I beeline for my car? I don't know how far that is. What's going through your mind?
Yeah, I need to preface this with, my first Spartan race was in Malaysia. So it was hot. It was humid. It was like somebody blow dryer in my face. Yes. And so back to that start line, I was like, why am I doing this? Who signed me up for this? Like, what am I thinking? And then it was, we're going to do this, and we're going to do it to our greatest capacity.
Yeah.
Because could I have just kind of phoned it in and jogged along? Sure, I still would have completed it.
Yeah.
That's not my style. I signed up, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it to my best ability.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, it was all in the mindset of flipping from, why am I doing this? Who wants to put the blow dryer in their face? Like, to, all right, that gun is about to go off, and we need to flip modes to flip out flip
the switch.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask me about that. Having coached with Nick Saban and a couple other people, and coaching in world championships, like, people are at home nervous watching on the TV, right? There aren't the players freaking out. Like, yeah, you're freaking out. Like,
yes, they are.
But about 20 seconds to 120 seconds into it, training and repetition takes over, right? Like, I know where my body's supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be doing, what my job is, what my role is, where my focus should be, and part of that adrenaline is also ultra focus, right? Like, we get more focused with that adrenaline.
And that's the thing. If you can harness that adrenaline and use it to focus, as opposed to freaking out or anxiety or panic, it's an incredible tool.
I think that's why people started doing a lot of the, I don't know what you'd call it, like, the bridge bungee jumping, and what is that called? Ultra? I don't know. Like, ultra risk stuff, right? Like, I think that was probably part of it, is like, how can I harness this absolute terror and fear? Because there is a absolute heightened awareness, and you do have adrenaline like coursing through your body, right? And so how do I harness that? And then I think the other thing is, like, for my parents' example, hey, listen, getting on a plane and flying to Italy seems a lot less fearful than jumping off a bridge that's 1,000 feet above the ground, right? On a bungee thing tied to my ankles. Like, you've done something like this, there's a new perception of fear.
Absolutely. And it's, again, once you do kind of that big scary thing, other things don't seem as big and scary.
Yeah.
No, I've done one Spartan race. It doesn't seem as scary to go and do another now.
Yeah. In Malaysia.
Yeah. In Malaysia.
This one's in our country. This is going to be easy.
Yeah. Oh, there's one in Chicago? Yeah, sure. No problem.
Yeah. I'll do that this weekend. All right. So let's talk about the one belief, value, action you would recommend to others on their journey when things get hard. They're on the road to being elite. And as we all know, I talk a lot of people about the mountaintop. Most people want to go to the mountaintop. That's a tough route. And sometimes the path, there is no path, right? And all of a sudden you're like scaling up verticals and you're like, wait a minute, I don't know if I signed on for this. And there's 15, 20-foot falls, drop and roll, and like bandage up the wounds, take care of the limping, and be ready to go on in a few days, right? And when it gets hard like that and you have that setback, when I take that fall, well, I know where the path down is from here. I made it this far. Maybe I should just go back, right? Maybe I should just go back.
You could, yeah.
You could. What do you think to get people to keep going, to keep finding that way? What do you recommend?
I recommend to all my clients, anchoring in your purpose or your vision. Because we always have to step back and say, what is the big picture here? Right? What is it? If it's climbing that mountain, it's getting to that mountaintop. And knowing that this vision or this purpose, it's bigger than me and my emotions. And yes, we need to deal and manage our emotions, a big part of emotional intelligence. We can't ignore them. But this message or this vision or this, I want to make change and impact in the world, that's bigger than me. And so remembering that, like, you were put here for a reason. You were put here with skill sets and talents that nobody else has. And it's up to you how you show them to the world.
Yeah. I don't know if people understand that masterpiece, right? That they are, that's created. We always marvel at the fact that, no snowflake is alike. I don't know, people in the southern United States or people in, below the equator or live near the equator understand this, but like, actually there is no snowflake exactly the same, right?
There's not.
And the same with people, not created ever. Which is funny for us because we have twins, both fraternal and identical, who are very, very different, right? In tons of different ways, but we are none. Everyone has created their own masterpiece. So as we look at that, that purpose of that big why I'm doing this, why is this going to be different? Why is this going to change? That does become so important. Do you do a lot of pre-work with people on that before they set their goals?
Absolutely. Because goals feed into the purpose or the why.
Better, right? It better.
Otherwise, you're distracting yourself and you're never going to get to that purpose or why.
Right.
But you have to start with the purpose or why so that we can create goals to get you on the path to achieve it. But if we don't know what the big picture is, if we don't know what the vision is, if we don't know what the message is, it's going to make it very hard to create a path to get there. Now, the purpose and vision might change over time as you take lessons learned and figure out things you like, don't like, right? Whatever that might be. As my example of teaching, I thought as a child I would be in an academic setting teaching. Now, I love teaching and helping people and leading them. Maybe not in the classroom settings, right? So taking those lessons learned to evolve your purpose and vision so that you can deliver the message in a clearer way, I think is so important. But if you don't know where you're going, you can't buy the plane ticket to get there.
Yeah. We're back to Alice in Wonderland, right?
Absolutely.
Which way are you going, right? I don't know. Any road will get you there, right? Yeah. Any road will get you there. So let's talk about A couple questions.
All right.
What, you've had a lot of success,
Mhm.
won a lot. What's the best battle that you've ever conquered?
Oh, this is easy.
Oh, really? That's awesome. This is hard for most people. That's good.
No, for me, it's having my son.
Okay.
He's my greatest achievement. All of this.
Man.
I can have the medals, I can have the degrees, I can have, you know, the corporate success. My son, that's my greatest achievement.
Mm, that's great. All right. Let's talk about describe the balancing act for women.
Yeah.
Because it is like, hey, mother, spouse, significant employee, you author, entrepreneur, executive, like you think about all these people you work with, right?
We wear a lot of hats. We wear a
Yeah,
lot.
like it's just like, whoa, like, hey, your pool has like 19 swim lanes. Like, and here how I like to describe to people. Here you have, let's just be realistic. I'll just say 12, right? It's a really big Olympic pool, right? What is the 11th lane you just like, hey, like you're 5, right? Like, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna be doing career anymore. Like I'm just letting that one go. Mossy green, like, well, your lane can be really green, but the whole pool becomes affected, right? Like because
Absolutely.
that just keeps getting filthier. It just grows out. Like, hey, even if the other 4 lanes were pristine, that one lane can't hold out because the pool's polluted, right? So talk to me about that balancing act
Yeah.
and especially the woman leader.
Yeah. And I honestly, I don't even use the word balance, right? Because
Yeah, I hate that word.
there is no true balance,
Yeah,
right?
right. Right.
It's like an ebb and a flow. Some days
Yeah.
we're good and we're on routine and target and everything is firing on all cylinders. And then there's days where it's like we're off the reservation and we're just taking it moment by moment. Right.
Right. Hey, back to grace. Back to grace.
Exactly. And that's the thing is it is great to have routines and habits. And those are things that keep us on track, right? Like you said at the beginning, intentional action towards our goals and our vision. We need that. But we also have to understand that life will happen, things will happen,
Yeah.
especially with kids, right? And giving ourselves grace to say, my schedule is fluid.
Mm,
This a lot during COVID, and I talked about, to my clients a lot about it during COVID because that very rigid schedule or routine you had before COVID kind of got thrown out the window because now
yeah.
you have kids at home that you're trying to manage, homeschooling or e-learning, or you're not sure if you're a gym
Yeah.
teacher
I'm
or
I'm surprised I haven't seen one fly through the back yet, by the way. Just as as
it
we
could
sit in this
happen.
environment, right?
Yeah. And so it became more of here's the things I want to accomplish in my day, as opposed to I'm going to accomplish them at 7 a.m., 8 a.m.,
Mm,
right? Because it's not what time of the day that you achieve it, it's whether or not you've completed it. And so, as women that are juggling all of the things, we have to be able to say, here's the things I want to achieve today, as opposed to, I'm going to beat myself up if I don't get my workout done at 7 a.m.
mm-hmm.
Whether my workout happens at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m., I still got my workout in and I still dedicated time to intentionally improving my health.
Yeah.
So to me, we got to get away from like balance or the rigid schedules. If you can, that's great, but understanding, give yourself grace that it's not going to happen textbook style every day. And there's no reason to beat yourself up if you don't get it done at the particular time of day, because guess what? There's still the rest of the day. Let's move things around. Let's reshuffle things. And you know what? I will get it done. Maybe it will just be after the kids go to bed.
Right. Well, I think this is one thing I want everyone to understand that I think you've just said it so well, is that having that grace, one, and
Mm.
two, expecting the unexpected. Like I like the fact when people tell me, for example, if I were to be a person who's kind of a blurter, like I say things in a very blunt way, and I'm just gonna, so I like for people to walk into a meeting and say, hey, listen, I've been charged with being blunt. It's not my intent to hurt your feelings. I mean very well. I want to give you straight information. It's how I speak. If I do it, it's not meant to offend you. And and you have permission to call me out and let me know if anything affected you. Now, when it happens, by the way, I, I'm not reacting to it the way I would if I didn't know that, right? Like because they told me it was going to happen, and I'm glad she did, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah, oh, that kind of hurt my feelings right there. Like, let me tell you, when you said that, like, that hurt a little bit. Let me tell you why, right? And now we're discussing it. But if she didn't tell me that in advance, now I'm like, that stung. Like, whoa, that was kind of close to the heart. Did she mean? Now in my mind, I'm like, did she mean to hurt my feelings? I'm going through all the things, right? So I love this idea that you're coaching people up who have tons on their plate. Having the perfect schedule and not expecting something to go perfectly right is insane. And now that you have the expectation, it's so much easier to adapt and go, yeah, I thought that might not work out the way I thought. And I'll have to pivot that. Guess that 1 o'clock just turned into a 5 o'clock, right?
Yeah, and that's that ability, right? I mean, if we set the expectation that every day is going to be absolutely perfect according to how my calendar looks,
Yeah.
I'm going to live in a world of disappointment every day. Because one meeting might go over, or phone might get interrupted by a phone call. There will always be something that occurs and throws the calendar off, even if it's just a little bit.
Yeah.
Expectation that I can live every day absolutely rigid is just setting myself up to live in a world of disappointment.
Yeah.
Place
Such good advice. All right. Let's talk to the coach. Let's talk to Coach Cathy for a second. Because as you coach, you get to be the mirror. You're going to hold the mirror up for people all the time, right?
Yeah.
And what is something you see in others when they look in the mirror on themselves, they don't see it? And you think like, wow, how are they missing that? Right? Like, what is one of those things that you see that we might take away that as an individual assessment, we might be missing?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I see consistently is people don't think they're good enough.
Mm. Mm.
Always find the ways, and whether it was from their upbringing or the comparison syndrome or the joy of social media that we have in today's society, but they think like they cannot meet that expectation or that
Yeah.
they're not good enough. And the reality is they have all of this talent inside of them that they're holding back.
Mm.
And
That's that imposter syndrome, right? Often called that, is so true. And I tell a story about that, right? Like as a young kid, wanting to be in the major leagues and sharing my goal, right? As this kid who really decided that's what I want to do. And, everyone was telling me no. I mean, I was literally looking at sharing it with people, and you don't go tell anybody that, right? Like you go tell people that you trust somewhat and that hopefully love you, like, my little league coach and my freshman coach and my mom. Like everybody's telling me like, you're not big enough, you're not fast enough, you're not strong enough, you're not this. And I'm like, man, I'm not enough. I'm not enough, right? Until that one time where I finally get in front of the guy who, who's in the major leagues, and he saw me play, and I asked him like, hey, and I told him this is what I want to do, and he's like, I think you got what it takes. And he's like, and I was like floored, man. I was like, it's exactly what I needed to hear. It's exactly what I needed to hear in the moment. But I told him with all due respect, like, that's not what people are saying. And this is one of my most valuable lessons on not being good enough. He said to me, I played in the major leagues. Any of those people who were telling you no, did they do that? So he's like, I caution you, Trent, where you get your advices and your guidance from. And I was like, I'm never talking to my mom about baseball again. Right now, I had a relief off my shoulders that, like, that's right. They may not know, even though I love them and they love me and I trust them. Like, they may not know, and that's okay. I don't think they meant ill will at all.
no,
Right?
there's,
But I was like, man, I
they
gotta
probably had
go
the
to
best
the.
they probably had the best intentions in the world.
Sure.
But they've just, again, it's taking advice from people who have never been there, don't understand the journey or the work that goes into being there, right?
Yeah.
Haven't done that work themselves.
Yeah.
Right? that's a lot of why I continue to do the work, because I can't take my clients places I'm not willing to go myself.
I think it's the biggest challenge in coaching, Cathy. I think right now there is a lot of weekend certification, and there is a, hey, I'm going to advise you on something I've never done before or don't know how to do. And I'm like, man,
Absolutely.
that's danger zone for me. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Well, I'll do one more question before I get we get to a little their last kind of quote here. How do you feel like the people, how were you developed by your coaches, by leaders you were around, like in
Mm.
the corporate world, like by your family? Who developed you? What were those big things you gleaned from those people that came before you?
Yeah. On my family side, my grandmother had, and she's still today, I can still hear her in my head at different moments. She had a major influence in my life of how I show up and where I go and what I do. And no matter what I was going through, she was the one who always said, I'm proud of you. You're
Mm,
doing a great job. You're doing big things.
mm,
Even when I was beating myself up going, I can't do this, or it's not enough, or I need to do more, that she was the one who was always in my corner. And some of her quotes and some of her ways of showing up still resonate with me.
mm-hmm,
And I'm told that's where I get my grit from, because, she raised 5 kids while my grandfather was deployed. And so she, in essence, was raising kids as a single mom during a crazy time because her husband was away. And so that grit and resilience that she developed, I'm told I'm very much like her. And so she had a major impact on my life from the family side. From the work side, I've had some great mentors and coaches who have guided me in different areas because my skill set and expertise is unique. And it's like, well, you just look at someone's resume, it doesn't tell you a full story.
mm-hmm.
It's like looking at a LinkedIn profile. Well, it tells you some about the person, but there's so much more to people.
Yeah.
So finding those people that understand your skill set, understand your expertise, and can help you find those right fits, or those right people to network with, have been very critical to my success.
So good. That's so good. All right. Thank you so much to Cathy. I know your listeners, our listeners always see the value in every episode we do, and they will see the one in this today. I enjoyed learning so much about your 5 facets, about being present, the 24 hours. I think that's so good. Your grit. I love the grit formula. If you're not familiar with it, we should talk about that. Purpose. That's just, if we're setting goals without purpose, we're lost. No, we're already setting the wrong roadmap. And then, of course, that mirror test. I tell a lot of people, hey, if you're not sure, go to the mirror right now and say, hey, I have what it takes. Like, I'm enough. And it is so true each and every time. Let's talk that last time. It's time for the best way to win. Cathy, is there something you want to share with the listeners that you did not touch with us? You coach about a lot of things. Is there anything maybe, that we didn't touch on today? We touched on a lot of good stuff.
We
So,
touched on a lot of good stuff, but you know what? I think what is so important, and again, we can get so lost with distractions in today's society, right?
yeah.
We've got social media, we've got trying to keep up with the Joneses in the community and the sports and all the things. But what is absolutely so important is you have gifts and talents and magic, and you're actually doing the world a disservice if you are not sharing those with the world in one means or another.
Yep.
You're doing a disservice to you in that you were given this gift and you're not utilizing it. And you're doing the world a disservice in that they don't know what they don't know. And you were put here to share that with them.
Yeah. I tell my kids, I think that's almost selfish, right? Like, you were given this and you're withholding it from others, right? Like, and you were given this for a purpose, and
Yes.
you're so good at this. Like, one of my kids is really good at like debate. I'm like, this is a service. Like, you're doing this, and everyone just, and by the way, I think this is how kids find what they're good at, because when
Yes.
they make a difference, they are praised. Like, people are like, whoa, this is awesome. You're so great. And who doesn't want to keep doing that? For those listeners, and I heard you just say this before too, for those listeners who are out there who have influence for people, you can never tell them that they have enough, that you're proud of them. You can't tell them enough. You can always tell that people, and it's not just kids, it's
No,
adults
it's
too, right?
adults.
We all need to hear it.
We all need to hear it. And you know what? Again, life gets busy and we forget to have those conversations. And I think it's so crucial to get back to having those conversations, to call a person that you see doing big things. Maybe you see them on social media and their accomplishments, but you know what? You haven't taken the time to pick up the phone and call them and say, I see you're doing big things and I'm proud of you, because I know it's not easy.
That is awesome. That if that's a takeaway today, like, please do that. Everyone, it's a holiday weekend. Take one moment to just share like some praise and encouragement for someone who you've seen just working their tail off, trying to find a way, right? And they are winners, like every one of them. And you've got to be able to encourage them and praise them in those situations. Take a moment to do that this weekend with your loved ones, or someone close to you, a friend in need, someone that, and you know what? I think if you're in touch with that higher power or whatever you are spiritually, those names often come into your mind. Like, it's set there for a reason. People will be brought on, like, wow, I haven't even thought about Brian for a little while. Like, I should probably pick up the phone, because you know what? Maybe he just needs to hear that. Maybe he needs to hear something from you. So I encourage someone to do that. Cathy, share where they can find you again, because I'm sure everyone's going to want to call you, right? So how can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. My website is wellnesswarriorcoaching.com. I'm most active on Instagram, Wellness Warrior Coaching.
Nice. All right. For us, before we go to the quote of what, when you're down, what your go-to is, we're going to finish with that. Please, for our listeners, follow us on YouTube Live, on the Leadershipity YouTube channel. We are also on our social medias at Leadershipity or Trent M. Clark, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook handles. We have all those things in one of those two places. You can also obviously find us most popular on LinkedIn. Watch for our upcoming ebook, The Pyramid of Leadershipity. You can DM or email me on any of those social medias. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please continue to listen to us and rate our Winners Find a Way show 5 stars. Work hard to find value, delivering stories from our 1% leaders for you each and every episode. And of course, Cathy McKinnon did not disappoint, always bringing it heavy. So I appreciate that, Cathy. Let's talk last is the verse or quote that you love, recommend, or live by when it gets tough. Do you have a go-to that kind of settles you, brings you back to your foundation?
I do. And I actually have it here at my desk as a reminder, right? I think we need those anchors or reminders. So the quote is, the basic difference between an ordinary man and a warrior is that a warrior takes everything as a challenge, while an ordinary man takes it as a blessing or a curse.
A challenge. So the warrior takes it as a challenge. The ordinary man, it's a blessing or a curse.
Yeah. So the ordinary man will just go, oh, well, that was good or bad. Carry my life. The warrior will say, what is this telling me? What is this teaching me? Or what am I supposed to do with this lesson now?
I love that. I just did a Bible study called Every Man a Warrior. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of challenges. Wow. There's a couple of spots that are just, you're taking blows to the face. Like, wow, I really got to be better. Like, this is crazy. And it is a challenge. I appreciate that. It's a good mind shift for people that find yourself in that. I found myself in that. Hey, good or bad, let's separate, click right, click left. Like we draw a line right on things. Maybe it's a challenge you need to lean into. I love that. My quote today was from the Bible for you, Cathy. As I thought about you this week, I really focus each and every week on our guests. And as I learn more about them and their person and then what I know of them, I really thought about your transformation. And it's so hard, the trifecta. And I was instantly drawn to Romans 12:2, which is, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. And so I just thought about that for you, because you are always purposeful, intentional, helping people find their way, and people are going through tough challenges and getting back to what they were here for. Because when that is in alignment for people, all things in the world work.
And that's the thing, when you start showing up as the person that you're meant to be, as that person that's on that mission to achieve that purpose or that vision, you show up completely differently than the robotic person checking off the to-do list or going calendar, okay, it's 8 o'clock, I'm supposed to do this.
Well, I can't tell you, like, when I've seen that in people, how many times people have reported back going, the person I've been looking to come into my life that's significant just showed up. Like, it was
Yeah.
like,
Things
whoa.
happen.
And like
Things happen.
the house that we wanted, or the new career path that I really needed a boost on steps in. And like it's a major, it's amazing to me how much alignment will happen when you're in it.
And that's the thing, if there is no space to receive, those things aren't going to show up.
Yep.
You have to be intentional to make space for them.
Hmm. That is so good. Cathy McKinnon, folks, I am super excited and thankful that Cathy, you could join us today. Just love the time together. So with that, I will tell you that can't say enough thanks for you coming on board and being with us today. For everyone else, see you next Friday on Winners Find a Way show, every Friday on the Leadershipity YouTube channel, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. For everyone out there, let's be thankful and glad this week for our anniversary of our country, 245 years, July 4th. Let's celebrate our independence and freedom together as Americans. It'll be awesome. See those family and friends and fellowship. It will be wonderful. Go enjoy it all. Can't wait to see you next week.